A 3-year study conducted based on the botanical facts confirmed that Ramayana is not a myth. But having said that, facts and historical accuracy has very little importance to a bhakt or a devotee. As the popularity of the original Ramayana shot to the sky, new versions of the story were being written in various languages. One of the versions, which is often referred by the Westerners as the Bible of Hindus, is the Ramcharitamanas, written by Goswami Tulsidas. Ramayana was written by Valmiki in the Treta Yuga, the second in the series of Mahayuga. It was referred as Adi Kavya, meaning the original or the first poem. Being the first of its kind, Valmiki was highly praised for his work, and Ramayana was well accepted by the scholars in society. On the other hand, when Tulsidas completed his version, the Ramcharitamanas, in the 15th century AD, he was ridiculed by the Sanskrit Brahmins. One of the reasons of this criticism was that the original Ramayana was written in Sanskrit, which is considered to be the language of gods, whereas Tulsidas's Ramcharitamanas was written in a local language called Awadhi. It is said that one evening a temple priest placed the Ramcharitamanas under a pile of 4 Vedas and 18 Puranas before the temple closed for the day. However, the next morning when the temple was unlocked, the priest found the book on top of all the Vedas and Puranas. This incident led to wide acceptance of Ramcharitamanas amidst the Hindu society. Up until this point, the Ramayana was only seen in temples and holy places. But when Ramcharitamanas was introduced, it occupied a place in every Hindu household because of people's familiarity with the language. Even though the core of the story is the same, Ramcharitamanas definitely has many instances that completely differ from the original Ramayana. Ram, an incarnation of Vishnu. To start with the most obvious difference, the Ramayana, literally meaning the journey of Ram, was a biography of Ram, which followed a bottom-to-top approach. Valmiki initially depicts Ram as a human who goes on to become a king and is later worshipped by all as God because of his values, morals, and deeds. He was called the Maryada Purushottam, meaning the man of supreme honor, whereas Tulsidas's Ramcharitamanas portrays a story of a god who descends to earth. In his version, Ram and all the sages knew all along the way that he was an incarnation of Vishnu, but chose to stick to display only his human side as a part of his Leela. Every act of Ram has a deeper meaning in Ramcharitamanas to re-emphasize him as an incarnation of Vishnu. Wives of Dashratha. King Dashrath was the father of Ram, where in Ramayana, King Dashrath had 353 wives, 3 of which were his chief queens. In Ramcharitamanas, Dashrath had only 3 wives. The infamous Swayamvar of Sita. For the ones unfamiliar with this term, Swayamvar is an ancient Indian practice where a girl of marriageable age chooses her husband in a gathering of many suitors. Ramcharitamanas narrates the glorious event held by King Janak for his daughter Sita's Swayamvar, where he declared that whoever lifts the divine Dhanush of Lord Shiva and strings it will be married to his favorite daughter Sita. While many kings and royals failed to even move the bow an inch, Prince Ram was the only man to lift the Shiv Dhanush and did not just string it but also broke the Dhanush. The romance of Sita and Ram falling in love with each other at the first sight does not exist in this version. Entry of Parashuram. In Tulsidas's Ramcharitamanas, when Ram broke the Shiv Dhanush, it caused a loud thundering sound, and Lord Parashuram appeared in the Swayamvar immediately, threatening the death upon the man who dared to break the bow. Janak tries to calm Parashuram and requests him to forgive Ram. But in Valmiki Ramayana, Lord Parashuram did not appear during the Swayamvar, but at the wedding of Ram and Sita. He threatened to kill Ram, to which his father, King Dashrath, begged for forgiveness and offered to take away his life instead. Lakshman Rekha. Everyone who has seen or heard the story of Ram knows about the popular episode of Lakshman Rekha, where Lakshman draws a line around the hut to ensure Sita's safety when he left in search of Ram. This Lakshman Rekha is known to symbolize the boundary that a woman should never cross. Interestingly, the story revolving Lakshman Rekha does not exist in the original version of Ramayana, but is quite elaborate in Ramcharitamanas. Sita's abduction. Where in Ramayana it was the real Sita who was abducted by Ravan, Tulsidas' Ramcharitamanas is slightly different. In his version, Lakshman was offended when the talks of Sita undergoing an Agni Pariksha came up. Seeing his brother infuriated, Ram explains to Lakshman that it is not the real Sita who will be undergoing the Agni Pariksha, because Sita was not kidnapped in the first place. Sita was safe with Agni Dev, the god of fire, and the one that had been kidnapped was a mere reflection. Hanuman. Hanuman, the ambassador and the biggest devotee of Lord Ram, is perhaps one of the most fascinating characters, beautifully portrayed by Valmiki in Ramayana. But in his version, Hanuman was a human, a man from the tribe Vanar. Van meaning forest and Nar meaning man. So Vanar meant the forest men. A recent speculation of the Vanar actually being the Neanderthal men rose to fame, but the Ramcharitamanas explicitly mentions that the Vanar Sena were the monkey men. How and why were the Vanars represented as monkey is not known, but most definitely the essence of Hanuman's character and his bhakti took precedence over his body throughout Tulsidas' Ramcharitamanas. The fight between Ram and Ravan. In the Yuddhakand or the chapter of war, Ramcharitamanas mentions Ravan fighting against Ram on the very first day of the war, where he was defeated, disarmed, and sent back with shame. It also talks about the rituals performed by Ravan seeking the blessings of goddess Durga to ensure his victory in the war against Ram. This ritual was later disrupted by a few members of the Vanar Sena. However, both of these incidents are not mentioned in Valmiki Ramayana. Killing of Ravan. In Valmiki Ramayana, Ram shot a single arrow that pierced the chest of Ravan, leading to his death. A very enhanced version of this killing is seen in Ramcharitamanas. In Tulsidas' version, Ram shot multiple arrows to decapitate Ravan, but his efforts went in vain. Because of a boon that Ravan had obtained from the gods, every time the arrow beheaded him, a new head would grow out of his neck. Vibhishan came to Ram's rescue and guided him to target Ravan's navel, where he had stored his elixir of life. Ram was finally able to kill Ravan upon piercing an arrow through his navel. Uttarkand. But Ramcharitamanas takes it further with the exile of Sita, birth of her twin sons Lava and Kush, and finally descending to Mother Earth. Most of us would agree that Uttarkand is perhaps the most beautiful and moving part of the entire Ramayana. It goes into the deep dark struggles of Sita as a single parent and the cruelty of a society towards its women, even if it is the queen of a kingdom. As much as we all want this to be a part of Valmiki Ramayana, it is not. It is also important to keep in mind that Tulsidas lived in an age of Mughals, where people were afraid of the atrocities of Hindu, their religion, their temples, etc. Tulsidas wrote Ramcharitamanas in order to regain the glorious past of our Sanatan Dharma in his very own way, to begin the chanting of Harinam in every house. Jai Shri Ram.